Hello, everybody. This is Sandra Pelli-Sandini, Intuitive Inner Peace Mentor, the Dragon Ally, and the Galactic Shaman. I am thrilled to have you here today. If you're watching this on YouTube, I would love it if you subscribed because your subscription to my channel makes a big difference in my world. And this is brought to you today by my book, A Spiritual How To, and it is found on most Amazons. This channel, Step into the Light, Step into Your Life, is a magical experience that a lot of people have in their lives when they decide to show up for themselves. And this is what I'm doing. I'm interviewing people who decide to show up for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I am very, very excited to introduce you to this beautiful guest, Shaté. And I'm just going to let you know that although we haven't, been in each other's worlds very much, I just love, love, love where you're coming from. So let me just catch everybody up with this beautiful bio piece. From being a professional dancer and choreographer to adjunct dance professor teaching her students how to build sustainable careers to full-time career coach turned career program exec for EdTech organizations, career steward, founder, and CEO, Shaté Hayes has mastered the art of professional transition. She's a certified business coach and a career strategist who has authored books like The Freelance Dancer's Roadmap and has contributed over 100 career business focused articles to esteemed national publications. Whether you're changing careers, re entering the workforce, building a team for the first time, or establishing a service based business, she can help you navigate your transition with more purpose and clarity. Oh my goodness, I love, love, love the sounds of that.
Thank
Hi,
you so much.
Shirley.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I would first of all just really like to know a little bit about your background because you wrote dancing in that, but there's just so many different types of dancing. And what was the impact on that that led you in the direction that you're going?
I literally did all types of dance. I've been dancing since I was a young girl, never asked to take a dance class. The story goes, I was really clumsy and I would, run into walls and fall up the stairs or whatever the case was. And my parents put me in dance classes to get me some grace. And all these years later, I know how to dance really well, but I'm still really, really clumsy. So I don't know if that's money well spent or not, but I started off with your typical sort of creative movement when you're young, and then that sort of progressed into tap, jazz, and ballet. And those were my mainstays for a while until I got older. And I really, as a professional, dibbled and dabbled in everything. I specialized in what I called rhythmic style. So hip hop, tap, sort of a street jazz were the things that I loved to do most. But I
Mhm.
danced with a samba company at one point. I danced with a Venezuelan band doing merengue and salsa and bachata. Like I've done everything. I was in grad school and we did, tons of modern, and the emphasis was modern and ballet. But I say, like, if the music is good, I'll dance to it. Just whatever it is.
I love that. It brings back this memory when I was in, I think it was Jamaica. And of course, every time the music comes on, you're moving to the music everywhere, right? And they were like, "Oh, you need to come up on stage." And so I know that there are definitely dance movements that I am incapable of doing. So I had to get up and dance. It was horrifying, but I had a lot of fun. I love this. I know of another person who really involves their dance and incorporates it into their business. So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit more about that, the career steward part of that, please.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that I was just sort of processing this with someone recently that I didn't choose career development either. I feel like I've been fortunate enough to have careers that I've loved that chose me. So dance I didn't choose. I fell in love with it. I stayed with it and honestly didn't know that I could have the type of professional dance career that I did. And loved it. Did move to LA, had an agent, did, worked overseas. I did a ton of things, tons of musical theater, educating. What I didn't know that I would fall into is career development. When I was in grad school, the department chair sort of asked me, like, "Hey, we got a career course for undergrad starting in 5 minutes. I don't have a TA, a teaching assistant. Can you do it?" And I said, sure, why not? And oh my goodness, did I love it to be able to share with these students all the things that I had gone through, all the things I wish I had known when I was starting out, pitfalls to avoid and hacks that will sort of accelerate their path. And I really, really just loved it. And from there started building my own career resource. So I have this hub for a while called the Working Dancer, and I just poured tons and tons of energy and time into podcasting and blogging and basically sharing all the information I wish I had when I was starting my dance career, because it wasn't really out there. How to do your taxes, how do I take care of myself, my mind, body, and my spirit? How do I market myself? Where do I find jobs? What kind of jobs can I do? Right? Like, so all of that type of information. So when I evolved past dance, which is another thing I didn't expect would happen, but when I evolved past it and wanted to move into something else, it was just kind of like this body of career work that I was already into, that I was still loving, was just the next step that was the most aligned for me.
Well, given the title of this podcast, Step into the Light, Step into Your Life, I can really feel the energy of that awareness and moving into that. Now, I know that you are also beautifully connected. So, how does spirit and career come together?
It's interesting because when I was in grad school, so my thesis was actually on what is the connection between creativity and divinity, creativity and spirituality. And at the time, what I was trying to really get at was like, I'm doing this thing that I love so much that I
Mhm.
feel purpose to do. Certainly, there is like a divine connection with that. And so I wanted to explore what that looks like. And it just happened to be in the perspective of dance itself. But I really think that translates beyond
Oh, yeah.
the discipline of dance. To me, that means like whatever I'm doing professionally, and I'm like building it from the inside out, meaning I'm doing the thing that is connected to my purpose, is connected to the thing that I'm put here for. To me, that's like prayer or something. Do you know what I mean? It's so for me, that doing even this career work to help other people love their work and live their purpose, that in and of itself is like a divine practice, in my opinion.
You are speaking my language. I just I love this because that is my goal as well, is to assist a million women in empowering themselves. And
Mm,
what you're saying is this real connection to what's internally able to shine through, and it empowers them in this beautiful, magical way to recognize their own abilities
yeah,
in essence. Wow.
absolutely.
Um, So I just for the listeners, can you clarify again what this inside out is? I just want them to really. I'd love for you to, in essence, um, dance at home, dance it across the hall.
Yeah,
I don't want to drive it home, but I'd rather dance with it.
I love that. So here's the thing. I'm not sure if this was your experience growing up, but I can recall career day
Yes.
experiences where they bring in the same types of folks for all the career days: the police officer, the fireman, the doctor, the lawyer, maybe there's an astronaut, right? So these really sort of staple careers that everyone knows about. And these folks come in and they tell you, this is what I do every day. They're in their uniform. And they're like really like sort of the one of the first impressions you have about what it means to have a job or something. And then we sort of go throughout our life picking, just sort of picking, not feeling, not reflecting, not being drawn towards, but we sort of have just picked these jobs that sound good, that pay a certain amount of money, that other people will think are is impressive, that, like all of these external reasons. And then for a lot of folks, we get into the job and then we're like, "Oh my gosh, I hate this," or "It doesn't it doesn't resonate with me," or "I'm really bored," or "I don't like this part of it." Just think about all the folks who have college majors, if that's the course they went, and then they're doing something completely different. Like there's just not a lot of guidance around how do I look inward to what my strengths are, my interests are, what I'm purposed for, what problems I want to solve in the world, and sort of choose, I'll say that's a better word, in alignment with that. And so the idea of building your career from the inside out is literally just that. How can we flip the model? How can we not to say that those professions aren't great, and if someone is certainly like actually purposed for them, by all means they should do that. But if you're not, like let's pay attention to the things that are resonating with who you are as a person and think about how we can incorporate at least some of those elements into our work. I will say that some people don't want to do the thing that they're purposed for a job, and that's okay. Like they don't want to make money from it, and that's totally fine. But there's such what's the word can I use? Like an epidemic almost of people who hate what they're doing, who are like settling in these jobs and professions that they just are tolerating. They just have disdain for them, and they really don't have to, right? So there's a way that they can sort of free themselves and do something that is more fulfilling.
You know, I think you're probably more fortunate than some of us because when we had career, we didn't necessarily have career day, but we had this document go around that we had
Mm,
to check off. And oh, I fit into this. Oh, supposed to be a veterinarian, and I'm highly allergic to horses and dogs. I just love that I'm talking to you today, and you're talking about this inside out because I literally have just been speaking with my the community about
mhm.
unlocking their potential, remembering what they loved to do as a child or what they wanted to do as a child instead
Yeah.
of that societal norm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really you hit the nail on the head with that one. I often say I don't like to ask kids what they want to be when they grow up because how could they know, right? We don't even know those of us who decided to go to college, we don't even know like what we want to do really as a major. Like that's hard enough. So to ask a child like what are you going to be, 20, 30 years from now is really difficult. But instead what I like to do is pay attention to how children play. Like, what are
Mm,
the things that they're interested in at that age? What are the things that give them joy, that light them up? And that's not to say that if they enjoy playing baseball that they're going to be a professional baseball player, but what are the things about how they play could translate into some sort of line of work, perhaps?
yeah. I would 100% agree with that because I actually did want to help animals. I wanted to, just given what from my travels with my family and that with my when I was a young child,
Mhm.
seeing animals beside the road or what have you, all these different experiences. And I did want to help animals. And I actually, in a roundabout way, communicate with animals now. I'm
Yeah.
not necessarily a veterinarian, so
Yeah.
maybe those documents had some legitimacy to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is too, to your point, Sandra, there's a very sort of limited view or perspective, or what's the way that I can say it? In their defense, whoever was, planning the career moments and days experiences, jobs have changed since then. So there's
Yeah.
no way as a little girl I could have known that I would be doing what I ended up doing because those jobs didn't even really exist, weren't talked about. And so to your point, I think that when it comes to animals, veterinarian is the job that they knew, right? But there are all of these other types of associated functions around animals that you could, to your point,
Oh,
absolutely end up doing and love them.
you also brought up something that I think is really, really key for people to know and understand. Like, I get the sense of your age versus my age. I'm 60.
Mhm.
I'm coming from the lineage right behind me that my parents, the women at that level and further back. I mean, there was like three jobs that a woman could do. Period. They could
Yeah.
be a steward, they could be a nurse, and a secretary,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that was it. Like
Yeah.
really, and now look at what women are doing today, right? It's
Mhm.
like you
Mhm.
said, what people like with the veterinarian piece of that, um, there's just so much. I know of
Yeah.
biologists, I know of people who like to explore in all different things with that. I can't even rattle off because there's no I mean, I get tongue tied when I try to express myself over this because there is so much to offer. And when we clue in, like you said, that is so important. When we go inside ourselves and really start to understand what we want, holy
Yeah.
Dinah.
Yes, that's a really good point too. So I'm 43 and I have a mom who I saw my whole life work the same job. So even in terms of looking inside out and having a professional dance career and then moving into something else, I honestly thought something was wrong with me because speaking of generational differences, she stayed in her job for like decades and decades and decades. Like my parents, like you don't leave the job that you have. You get into the job, it sustains your life and your family, and you stay there and you retire from that job. And so here I am thinking, oh, I'm ready to do something else. And I'm like, oh, is there something wrong with me? Am I doing careers wrong? Why do I want to change? Like what is that about? And yeah, it really does speak to just how work evolves, how people evolve, and like how the opportunities are just different, at different times.
Yeah, you know what, too? I want everybody to really understand it is absolutely okay to change your mind. It brings up Britney Spears' "It's My Prerogative" song, right?
Yeah.
And truly, why not change? If you're unhappy, we were not meant to be unhappy human beings. We're
Mm.
supposed to be doing things that are happy. Well, and I just like the word "supposed to be." I think it is more natural for us to shine and enjoy life if we're given the chance, if we give ourselves a chance, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then, you're just kind of talking about all these different careers and that, and I think given what we've kind of talked about, how how were you authentic in that move then? Because you had those fears. So how would the person be authentic in navigating a career change?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think that authenticity to me means that there is alignment between what you are feeling inside and how it is showing up outside.
Mm,
There's a sameness between my feelings and either what's trying to manifest or what I'm presenting and projecting out to the world. That's got to be real. It's got to be honest. So for me, I left professional dance world and had a complete identity crisis, by the way. So you're right. It's not easy. Didn't expect to be like, oh, wait, like, who am I now? What am I going to do? Even though I had already been doing career work, it wasn't immediately um, aware. Like, I wasn't immediately aware that that was the next step. It was just this thing that I was doing. And again, wasn't even quite sure how to make that a career, So
yeah.
I'm here kind of wallowing in my did I make the right choice, but I don't want to do that anymore. But I'm not quite who I'm going to be, but I'm not who I used to be. Just this really weird transitional middle place. And it was really about me getting clear about, okay, what is important to me? And it was
Mm,
service, it was career still, it was being connected to higher ed in some way. And then I started to like really search for things that were those things, those values, those choices. And obviously ended up in the place where I became a full-time career coach.
mm,
Again, wasn't even on my radar. But speaking to authenticity, I walked into this role in the EdTech space. It was a corporate career. And everyone else was like, I have a background in recruiting and I have a background in HR and like all of these things. And I came in and said, I'm a dancer. I came from a world where I was performing and choreographing and teaching, and I mentored my students through their career, launches, and I definitely tied it to the job that I was doing, but I just really stood in who I was, and I really never wavered on that. Like I'm doing this work, and also I'm a creative, and I move.
That is so important, standing in who you are. I
Mhm.
know that myself and possibly many others, you highlighted on a few of those moments that you experience as you're doing this transition into a new job or a new career or a new way of life and that new part of your journey. And for myself, part of it was transitioning from um, doing this 9 to 5 type of job to this type of job where I'm sitting here in my own space. I'm not going out of my space anymore. I can do
Mhm.
this out of my home, out of my van, whatever the case is, right? And two, that in those moments where things aren't working out, oh, maybe I should go back and get one of those brick and mortar type of jobs, and
Yeah.
second guessing that energy, right?
Yeah, yeah, there is a lot of self-doubt, and I think it's important for folks to just manage your expectations. I think when
Mm,
people sometimes hear, I'm going to take this leap of faith. They think, oh, I took the leap of faith and then I'm going to land and like I did it and it's built. And it's like, no, 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 no. There's a whole building period that has to take place. So you can take the leap of faith. And what might actually happen is you might like do a little somersault and then you'll have to get up and you'll have to dust off the rocks and, and then you'll have to keep going. But as you move forward, I think it's totally normal. Like we can just normalize all of those feelings that you just described. And it's important, and I'm sure you know this, you can attest to this. When you're becoming, you have to continue to take choices towards what you're becoming.
Mm,
Now, does that mean that if you're building a business that you don't ever get a 9 to 5 if you just need the extra like support or investment in your business? No. But if you're sort of shrinking back, going backwards out of fear, or it's not happening soon enough, or I don't think I can do that, that's different than I'm going to
yeah,
do this to help me continue to move towards who I'm becoming, you know?
exactly. It's the recognizing the stepping stones along
Right.
the way versus that complete halt and doing a pivot in the wrong direction. Right?
Exactly.
And I made that very clear. It's the pivot in the wrong direction. We are allowed to pivot, and we're pivoting, and we're moving in a direction that benefits us. But when we're pivoting and going, this is too hard, or something else, then people like yourself are there to help them along the way. So I want to know more about the careersteward.co.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing now. I spent all that time, so it was probably collectively from the time I was helping dancers through my corporate career, about 10 years worth of career and workforce development, helping professionals, either transition, change, or grow their careers. And I really wanted to go back on my own and really incorporate creatives and just all the parts of me. And so I have a career programs and consulting company called Career Steward, where I help people live their purpose and love their work. And yeah, like I know what it feels like to build a dream career. And I want to help everybody else sort of have that feeling, as many folks as I can. And that's what we do at Career Steward.
Wow. That just feels so, so very, very magical. Um, so I know you have a gift for everybody. Want to
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about what this is?
Absolutely. So I found that, when folks are transitioning or about to transition, there are two buckets, right? So there are folks who know exactly what they want to do, but they're sort of scared to do it. They haven't given themselves permission to do it.
Mm,
And then there's this other bucket of folks who are like, I'm ready for more, but I don't know what more is. Like, I just know I'm ready. It's time to go. And that's kind of like I was when I transitioned from my dance career. Like, I'm going to do something. I just don't know what the something is. And in those cases, I've just been fortunate enough to sort of be introspective enough to know what I enjoy and what are the things that I kind of want to see play out. But that's not the case for a lot of folks, to your earlier point. And so I have this resource, this guide, where someone could really go through the steps of self-assessing, self-reflecting to see what potential matches there are that would be fulfilling for them in a career. So that's what you'll find at lightmycareermatch.com. Walk you through those steps so you can be lit up in your career.
yeah, I love that. I love that. What is one piece of advice that you would like to leave the listener with?
Uh, I don't know if this is an advice so much as it is a, a belief,
Okay.
a change of belief. Whatever career you want, I imagine that there are people who are like, oh, I've always wanted to do this thing. Or it would have been cool if I could have, right? You sort of, if you have that sort of language around what you're doing for a living, I want you to know that you can. You still can. It doesn't
Mm,
matter what age, it doesn't matter what station, it doesn't matter where you are. You can have a version of the life that you truly deeply in your innermost parts, dream about. And it's about giving yourself permission to do that. It's about maybe thinking creatively. So maybe think about how can I get that? Not like I can't get that, right? Open up the space for it to come through in different ways than you had imagined. But just know at the end of the day that you can have that.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for being here and expressing this because this is what it's all about. It's stepping into the light, stepping into your life, and you are such a beautiful prime example of that. And you're leading people. You are a beautiful action taker that are showing people how to do this. Magical.
Thank you so much, Sandra. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.